Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's Dharma School service. I think it's our first day of Dharma School as well, so welcome to all of our students and our teachers. And we're going to start this morning's service by me ringing, instead of ringing the concho outside, we'll ring the bell here on the altar. And during the ringing of the concho, I'd just like to ask everyone to please sit quietly in meditation. Namandab, 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 namandab. Namanda. Namanda. Namo Amidabatu. Namo Amidabatu. Namo Amidabatu. Namandab, 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 namandab. Well, again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's Dharma School service. I would like to begin this morning's service by asking all of you to please join me in reciting the Golden Chain, which is on page 5 of the service book. But since Stuart Ito is here this morning with me, it's also on the computer screen as well. Please join me in Gasho and in reciting the Golden Chain. Golden Chain. I am a link in Amita's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amidabatu. Namo Amidabatu. Namo Amidabatu. Namandab, namandab, namandab. With strong voices, I'd like to ask you all to please join me in chanting the Jusei Ge, which is again on page 23 and on the computer screen. Namandab, 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 namandab. Gagon chosegan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzok seifu joshogak gao muryoko fui dai seshu fusai shobingu seifu joshogak gashi jobutsudo myosho chojipo 苦教未証門政府上昇学利欲人少年上映修本業しぐ無浄土一生天人師人力現代公不詳無才道少女三苦名交際集約難回避知恵言滅死根門案閉塞小悪道通達全宗門高僧上満足いよろじぽ日月主十期健康音普賢一種解放像公正苦読本上大集中説法ししく供養一切仏具足修徳本元年出上満徳意三概四如仏無下知通達未不詳願学エリ投資最小尊志願役化大聖の感動国小天人東鎮妙慶ナマンダムナマンダムナマンダムナマンダムナマンダムナマンダム願にしく読平等聖祭論本内心往生安楽Namandab, namandab, 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 namandab. I'd like to ask you all to please join me in reading the Three Treasures, which is on your computer screen and on page 3. Please join me in Gasho. Three treasures. Fortunate is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. So again, good morning, everyone. As you can all see, it is I, Reverend Tim, officiating this morning's service. I am joined here at the Sacramento Buddhist Church in our little Hondo, joined by my executive producer, Stuart Ito, and together we will have service today. But unlike Reverend Matt, there's no gathas because you do not want to hear me sing. Maybe next time, who knows? So as I start off most services up at the Marysville Church, the most simplest of questions, how is everybody doing this morning? Welcome to October and welcome to fall. And although it still doesn't totally feel like fall yet, but by a show of hands, how many of you are glad that summer is ending? Okay, there's two in this room. It's been a while since I gave an update on Tim Castle here in Sacramento. If you ever come visit me up at the Marysville Buddhist Church, you get an update on Tim Castle about twice a month. So after 9 years, they know all about our comings and goings for sure. So my oldest daughter, Leanne, moved back home to Elk Grove this past June. She moved back from Hawaii. Her main focus right now is job hunting, so keep your fingers crossed. Carrie is also at home and working on her master's degree in education, finding that virtual teaching is not a great time to be looking for a teaching job. Mom and Pop Nagai are also doing well, and overall we are just happy that there is plenty of family close to keep an eye on each other during these times. This morning I'd like to start off my talk by asking you all to please join me in Gasho. The words of the historical Buddha. All things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom and compassion, one turns away from suffering. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So this morning, I'd like to talk about all the change that has been going on around all of us, around all of me recently, and my ongoing realization that change can be very fast and it can be very slow as well. So let's talk about change. In thinking about the speed of change, I decided to look up some random things that have seen change or how long it takes for some things to go through change. Some changes can literally take what seems like forever. It's estimated that our solar system formed about 4.5 billion years ago, taking hundreds of millions of years to get us to where we are right now. 235 million years ago, we had dinosaurs running around, creating the first real Jurassic Park. The Grand Canyon started forming over 17 million years ago, taking roughly 11 million years to form to where it is now. Now, more recently, man began tinkering and came up with the wheel just 5,500 years ago. The printing press, 540 years ago. Fossil fuels, 180 years ago. Telephone, 130 years. And the first computer just, anybody want to guess? 60 years ago, the first real computer. So often we know that change can take a very long time, and if we are fortunate, our lives will change very slowly, and we hope to all be fortunate to live a long life. I think when we were all younger, we just assumed that our lives will be like this, each year taking a routine 365 days, and we simply grow older. I think when we were young, we just take this for granted, that change in our lives will be very slow, and we don't worry too much about things. This type of change rarely stresses us out because it is kind of expected. But on the complete other side of the spectrum, change can be very fast. A simple blink of an eye takes only 3/10 of a second. A flick of the light switch, only a second to turn on the light. Yesterday, the Preakness Stakes, a racehorse, was run, and it was run in just 1 minute and 53 seconds. So change can be very slow or it can be very fast. And when I think about my own frustrations with change recently, I think it is clear that I do not always like change. And to me, that kind of makes me laugh. Pretty funny that as a Buddhist minister, I don't like change. Kind of funny, huh? But in reality, I know I am simply just human, and I like familiarity, and I like to think that I know exactly what is coming my way. And sometimes when I don't see change coming, it can have a strong impact upon me. So how do we possibly deal with change? One of our most basic teachings. How do we deal with that? I like to think I can prepare for most changes. Again, most change that we deal with takes a long time. Some changes are ones that we see coming before us, but some are very unpredictable. And I think the unpredictable changes are the hardest to deal with. So again, I think our basic teaching is everything is changing. I also know that I need to simply accept that change is coming, and really, I only have the power in how I deal with change, and not the change, or not be able to change the actual change itself. Our attachments make it very difficult to simply accept this. Our attachment is to things not changing. So if everything changes, we have to turn away from our attachments, or life will be very difficult. Realizing sometimes, too, that opportunity comes with change itself. It seems that in life, that change is simply the opening and closing of different doors. When one door closes, another door opens. When one opens, another closes. While it may not be the same door, the new door also means opportunity, but it does mean change. When change happens, we need to simply move forward and carry the lessons of change with us. And overall, I think this is pretty good advice, as it helps deal with the changes that we simply call life. But what about the most important changes that we find in being fortunate to live a long life? I mean, realizing there is change and accepting change and moving forward is all good advice when it's something simple like your favorite TV show gets canceled, or maybe you have a new boss at work. Those things are pretty easy to deal with. But what about truly life-altering change? How does Buddhism help us in handling things like the illness of loved ones, or having our entire way of living changed due to this pandemic? When I have my own doubts and my own questions about our teachings, I simply go back to the basics, because I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it simple. And I go back to the simplest of messages from our teachers. I go back to the lessons that the historical Buddha talked about in his first Dharma message at Deer Park. And at that time, the Buddha, he wasn't teaching Buddhism. That was not even a word yet. At that time, the Buddha was simply teaching and talking about life and how to cope with life. So personally, I really do find personal direction and comfort from seeing and reading the lessons of things like the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths of 1, life is difficult. 2, because we are selfish, we don't want things to change. 3, the key to living life is not to be selfish. And to do this, the fourth noble truth is we live the Eightfold Path. Now, while the Buddha laid this teaching down for all of us to follow, I have often asked myself, where and what does this then lead to? And I know that sometimes we have many grand answers to this question. Maybe it'll lead to becoming a Buddha, or maybe it'll lead to becoming enlightened. But like I say, I like to keep it much more simpler. I like to think that following our basic teachings simply leads us to a much more tangible, practical, and life-changing goal of simply trying to recognize change and try to accept the change so we do not regret fighting the change. I think that is all the Buddha truly would ask of us, is to simply try to live a life of living with our eyes open and having peace of mind and comfort. I believe that if we can all try to live a life of no regret, a life trying to honestly deal with change, that it frees us. It gives us the freedom to handle the truly painful truth of change and be able to learn and grow from the hurdles like illness and death of loved ones, seeing family members change. And we know that change is inevitable, but if we live every day trying not to have that anchor of not seeing change holding us back, then maybe we can deal with the expected and the unexpected. Again, I think that Buddhism is but one path to be able to live a life of no regret, and ultimately, maybe the sense of no regret is simply what makes sense to me today. Maybe when you think about change and impermanence today, you realize that the Four Noble Truths are indeed a good path to walk. And maybe you may come up with your own path, one that makes sense to you. But maybe today is just the first day for all of us to think about this as a little homework assignment. I love giving homework assignments up in Marysville. This maybe is my first one here in Sacramento. But during this next week, when you think about change and how to deal with slow changes and those that happen in a blink of an eye, what do you find strength to take the next step in? What do you take to find strength to take the next step in? So that's our homework assignment for this week. Nothing to turn in next week. And I think at this point, I'd like to simply ask all of you in closing to join me in Gasho. All things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom and compassion, one turns away from suffering. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Again, I want to thank everyone. I especially want to thank Stuart this morning. We had quite an adventure this morning. We got here a little early for service, and there was a smoke detector that was going off in the little hondo here. We had to do a little deconstruction of the ceiling to get to it. We had a couple of little technical issues, but that's why we get here early, to adapt to change, right? So again, thank you everyone for being here today. I do believe that today is the first day of Dharma School, as both Leanne and Carrie and Nikki at home were getting ready for Dharma School. So I wish luck to all of the Dharma School students for a new term, and good luck to all the teachers who are having to deal with change of leading a virtual Dharma School class. So good luck with class today, and I hope to see all of you again very soon. Bye, everyone.